Hey everyone, it's Alex, the real Mr. Robinson, and welcome back to my chronological recap of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We are at part 18, talking about Spider-Man Homecoming, which in my opinion is still the best live-action Spider-Man movie ever made. The key word being live action. Is Spider-Verse better than this movie? I'll wait till the end of the video to give an answer, if I can. But anyway, this was my favorite MCU movie of 2017. And probably because Spider-Man, next to Captain America, Steve Rogers, is one of my favorite comic book characters out there. Like I said a couple times throughout this series of reviews, Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, is the character that I would like to try to be more like. But Peter Parker's Spider-Man is actually the character that I'm actually more like. And what really works about this Spider-Man movie in particular is that it's a superhero movie, sure, but it's also a high school coming-of-age film, similar to a lot of John Hughes films like The Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And it just makes me so bummed that I wasn't a teenager when this came out. I was 11 when the first Spider-Man came out, 13 when Spider-Man 2 came out, and 16 when Spider-Man 3 came out. And I wish this was the Spider-Man movie that I got when I was 16 years old, because this Peter Parker is just so identifiable. And that's one of the great things about this Spider-Man movie, more than the other movies beforehand, is that Peter Parker has these extraordinary powers. He has this suit that Tony Stark gave to him in Civil War, but he's still trying to balance out his high school life and his social life while trying to be Spider-Man and impress Tony Stark to hopefully one day become an Avenger. Sometimes you have to sacrifice hanging out with your friends or going out to continue pursuing a career or what you want to do with your life. And again, it just makes those situations that Peter Parker's going through very relatable. And Tom Holland still is my favorite live-action Peter Parker because he gets the best of both worlds. He's a great Peter Parker, but he also rocks the Spider-Man suit and the personality of Spider-Man. And I also appreciate that this movie is more small scale than some of the other Spider-Man movies. Because like I said, it's a coming-of-age film where Peter Parker's trying to prove to himself that he has the chops to be an Avenger. The fate of the world is not at stake, especially when it comes to the film's villain, Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, who is one of the better MCU villains out there, because he's not really a villain who wants to try to take over the world. He's just a guy that got screwed over by Tony Stark and Damage Control, because he was supposed to make a profit by cleaning up the Chitauri leftovers from the Battle of New York. So he and his small crew now go around raiding Damage Control warehouses or delivery trucks to steal Chitauri equipment to make weapons and sell them off to the black market. And he's just doing that to support his family. That's really all you need to know, and it just makes his motivation something that you can get behind, because at the end of the day, he's not killing anyone, at least on purpose. He's just trying to make money to support his family. And of course Michael Keaton does a great job, because it's Michael Keaton. Unless the movie's called Dumbo, you know he's going to give a great performance. And his character is responsible for the biggest twist in the film. And I still remember the audience reaction ever since I saw this movie in the theaters. When Peter Parker asks his love interest Liz to the prom, she says yes. He goes over to her house to pick her up. But then who opens the door? Adrian Toomes. And you're just like, oh. Adrian Toomes knows who Peter Parker is. He knows he's Spider-Man. He knows who he has a fondness for. He's probably kidnapped Liz or killed her. But then the scene continues and you see that Liz is all dressed up, ready to go to prom, and you're thinking, she's playing along. It's like she knows something's going to happen. She's going to warn Peter Parker to help her. But no, it turns out that Adrian is actually Liz's dad, and it just leads to a very intense scene where he's driving the two of them to prom, and slowly he figures out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and they have that very tension-filled scene in the car where Adrian is like, does she know? What you did for my daughter in Washington, D.C., I can never forget that. So I'm just going to give you a chance to walk away, show my daughter a good time, and don't mess with my business, because if you do, I'll kill you and everyone you love. And it's just such a tension-filled scene. But, yeah, just a fantastic twist with this film. You have a lot of other great, likable side characters. Again, making me wish I was 16 when this movie came out. Because Peter Parker's best friend in this movie, not Harry Osborn, but Ned, is a great comic relief for Peter Parker. Liz is charming. Flash Thompson is thankfully not one of those Stephen King bullies. He's just making fun of Peter Parker. And then you have Zendaya as MJ. one thing that this Spider-Man movie doesn't have are a lot of the more traditional Spider-Man characters, like Harry Osborn, Mary Jane Watson, and Gwen Stacy. So they decided to give Zendaya's character, Michelle, the nickname of MJ. And really, it's MJ in name only. She's not the real Mary Jane Watson. But before you think I'm going down a road of hating her, I don't, because honestly, her character was one of the best in the film. She actually got the most laughs out of me than any other character in this film, and I'm really excited to see what else they're going to do with this character in Spider-Man Far From Home. And then in addition to some of the new characters, you get some returning characters like Happy Hogan, played again by Jon Favreau, Tony Stark, played again by Robert Downey Jr., and what I really love about Tony Stark in this film is that he's in the movie enough to where it never becomes a Spider-Man Iron Man show. Tony Stark is in this movie enough to be Peter Parker's mentor and to give him any advice that he might need, and to kind of show up and fix things when Peter Parker screws up. And one of those times he screws up is when Tony Stark actually takes away the Spider-Man suit, and he's forced to go back to that homemade suit that he made before the events of Civil War. And it's a really great scene because Tony Stark just breaks it down. You almost screwed up big time. And if somebody else died, that would have been on you. But if you died, I feel like that's on me, and I'll need that on my conscience. Let's put a pin in that for a couple movies later. And then when Peter Parker actually stops Adrian Toomes by himself and wins Happy and Tony's trust, he's offered the chance to become an Avenger, but turns it down just so he could go back to Queens and look out for the little guy. It's pretty impressive, and it really shows how much this Peter Parker has grown, even when Tony Stark took away what he gave him. So because this is one of the later MCU movies that I've rewatched several times over, I don't have much else to say about this one that I haven't said before in my Best of 2017 list and my original review. I still think this is the best live-action Spider-Man movie made. A lot of people will debate between this and Spider-Man 2, but I think this movie's ultimately better than Spider-Man 2 because of a better actor playing Peter Parker and Spider-Man, but also a better villain. When rewatching Spider-Man 2, I never quite understood why Otto Octavius decided to turn to a life of crime, and why he just decided to become a villain, because they set him up as a very nice guy, and for him to just kind of turn evil was forced. With Adrian Toomes, there's a reason why he's doing the criminal activity, and it just makes for a more interesting and compelling villain. So that's why I think that this is better than Spider-Man 2. Now, getting back to the earlier question, is this better than Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? I think Spider-Verse might be better because of the fantastic art style, and it just has a few more of those traditional Spider-Man tropes that I'm familiar with. But this is still a damn good Spider-Man movie, second best, or maybe this and Spider-Verse are tied. I mean, one day I'll think this movie's better, the other I'll think Spider-Verse is better, but whatever the case, this is a movie you need to get off your ass and go see right now. It's fun, it's charming, it has heart, it has a great score by Michael Giacchino, who did Doctor Strange, and honestly, I like his Spider-Man theme a little more than Danny Elfman's Spider-Man theme, so hey, that's my opinion. Now let's talk about the Stan Lee cameo. This is actually a cameo that was turned into a meme after Stan Lee passed away, and the scene involves Spider-Man trying to stop a car thief, or at least he thinks it's a car thief, but it turns out the guy he was stopping was just trying to open his car after he locked his keys in. The neighbors start yelling at Spider-Man as he's trying to explain the situation, and then Stan Lee looks out his window and goes, "Don't make me come down there, you punk." And people have turned that cameo into a meme where Stan Lee is just looking down from the heavens and goes, "Don't make me come down there, you punk." It's a fun cameo, but in terms of his Spider-Man cameos, it's not better than his Spider-Verse one or even his Spider-Man 3 cameo, because those actually have a lot more meaning than this one. Now, the mid-credit scene brings Adrian into a prison where he encounters a character who would eventually become the Scorpion, and I think that's all a setup for the Sinister Six if Marvel Studios ends up doing that later on. So, I'll be interested to see what they do. The end credit scene, however, was just Marvel Studios trolling us. Because throughout the entire movie, there are these little high school PSAs that Steve Rogers is doing in the Captain America suit from the first Avengers film. And the end credit scene is another PSA where Steve Rogers walks out and goes, "Hi, I'm Captain America. Here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits any soldier or student can have. Patience. Sometimes patience is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little. It might seem like it's not worth it." And you wonder, why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these? And I just remember laughing hysterically, but at the same time feeling trolled by Marvel. Because it's almost like they know that the end credit stingers are almost not worth it, so they just decide to make a end credit stinger that actually addressed this and made you feel disappointed for when the end credit stinger didn't actually live up to what you were hoping it would be. And there you go, that's my recap for Spider-Man Homecoming. Now just hang tight, we're almost done, as next up on this chronological recap, we're going to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp. Besides Captain Marvel, this is the most recent Marvel Cinematic Universe film, and my opinion for it really hasn't changed, so it might be a very short video, but we'll just see when we get to it. Now I want to hear what you guys think about Spider-Man Homecoming. Did you love it when you first saw it? Did you not like it? Has your opinion changed since you saw it for the first time? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and of course leave a comment. Don't forget to support my Patreon page, follow me on social media, and until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one. Hi. I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits any soldier or student can have. Patience.